No news about Huawei's Google situation? What are your thoughts on Google banning Huawei devices? What happened to Huawei? No news on Huawei? So you wanted a good discussion on Huawei? Let's do it. I'm Jaime Rivera with Pocketnow, and this is the Pocketnow Daily Recap, your best comments for this week, and we had a hard time picking them all. They were fantastic. So on Monday, the topic was the initial suspension when Google notified everybody that they were no longer going to make business with Huawei. I asked you, what did you think about this resolution? We had 600 comments. US government, if you can't beat them, ban them. Dude, 103 likes, and I am so with you. Huawei has been pulling so many punches when it comes to innovation lately that, yeah, I do understand that probably other companies are a little worried. I mean, their growth has been significant. Love your comment. No Huawei equals no competition. No competition equals no innovation. That's not good for consumers. Exactly, that's one of my biggest problems. I mean, you know what's funny? It's not that I'm trying to defend Huawei, it's just there is still no evidence, and it's not the first time that the United States does that. And what? So we're just gonna ban a company out of the blue over suspicion? Dude, I've got this Amazon Echo back there that knows exactly what I want to buy, and what? We're gonna call that correct? Still waiting for evidence on Huawei while plenty of evidence on US government spying on the rest of the world. Double standard like no other. Back to work on shopping citizens of capitalism. Alright, that's gonna get a little political, we're not gonna go there, but dude, you deserve your 133 likes. And again, that's exactly what I mean. My biggest problem is leaving here and saying, yeah, I want to buy some travel pants, as I was doing the other day, and I discussed on the on the weekly, and just out of the blue, boom, all the ads that are showing up on my phone are now about travel pants. What do you know? Apple, Huawei needs to stop innovating so that they can sell high-priced products. Trump, hold my beer. Yeah, sadly. Then on Tuesday, the topic was software. You know that Huawei's been given 90 days where your phones or existing phones are going to be working just fine. And obviously, there's the biggest concern over what happens after that. I asked you, do you think that Huawei should move to another operating system for future devices? Or what? We had 690 comments. I want Huawei to make an OS. I'm bored of iOS and Android. I'm ready for a third OS, and I bet I'm not the only one. I'm not going to say that Android or iOS are not good, but I'll tell you this much. It's not that they're getting boring, but we already notice all the limitations in Android. For example, social media. If I want to use Android for any sort of video on Instagram, it's terrible. I would rather use an iPhone, and it's the main reason why I carry an iPhone with me. Why does that have to happen? Why isn't that at an OS level things can be better? So, yeah. If Huawei makes its own OS and can perfect it like Apple has, man, oh man, you got the package. You know, I guess my biggest question is what would happen if Huawei makes a really good OS and then they open source it, and everybody in China moves away from Android? Have you ever thought about that? Banning Huawei should trigger an alarm to other companies like Samsung. The centralization Google has over Android is too big. I guess industry is going to think away from Google. That is my biggest concern. Definitely. Not necessarily because of Samsung, because, you know, Korean companies and the United States, they get along really well. I don't think that's going to be a problem. It's just, I thought that, you know, with the whole United States perspective of this is free commerce and a free everything, and why is it that once a company gets banned because things are not going their way, you know? Yes, I think that companies are going to start questioning why should they trust Android, and I think that that's a big problem. A new OS might be a good thing for consumers, but believe me, it's a nightmare for developers. You do nail a great point. I mean, we had Windows Phone and nobody adopted it. We've seen Tizen, nobody adopted it. So there is no guarantee that it's going to work unless companies have motive, but I believe that now the motive has been shown. If companies are now going to be concerned about the possibility of being banned and not being able to access Android and pretty much leaving all their eggs in one basket, I do see that there will be a necessity for something else. And then on Wednesday, the topic was the Kirin processors. You know that now ARM also decided that they weren't going to make business with Huawei, even if they're in the UK, but it's US technology. I asked you, what do you think? I mean, if the Kirin dies and Huawei is not going to be able to use processors by other companies, what's your perspective? We had 1,030 comments. Thanks so much, guys. Trump, an apple a day keeps the Dr. Huawei. All right. 300 legs. That's all I'm gonna say. Huawei is in the end game now. It is a difficult situation. I mean, if they can't access technology, what exactly is it that they're supposed to do? They're just gonna kill their business out of the blue? This is just pushing Huawei to become more self-sufficient. Yes, and you know, the problem is that they have the technology, they currently have the cash, not exactly sure how long that's gonna last, but I mean, they've done it. In the past, the whole argument was that Huawei was copying, but now they hold so many 5G patents, I'm not exactly sure if that's true anymore. Facebook stores and sells data. Google tracks and stores and sells data. Huawei, no evidence. Who can you trust nowadays anyways? Yes. I'm not saying that any of this, neither Huawei or Facebook or Google, is correct. I'm not saying that any of them is right. I'm just saying that, alright, if there is evidence, then sure, just show the evidence. Just prove and let's stop hindering innovation. I'm not trying to defend any company here. I'm just saying if we have the evidence, then consumers can be like, yeah, no, definitely, let's not buy Huawei phones. I think that would be all of our reactions if we could see that it's true. And then on Thursday, the comments got the most heated because we've been hearing that the Chinese government has already provided a formal claim. There are speculations by many analysts that are already believing that Apple could be banned from China as repercussion for everything that's been happening. And so think about this. No iPhones being manufactured in China, no iPhones being sold. There was a dramatic hit. I asked you what you thought about this. We had 1,373 comments. Thanks so much. Meanwhile, somewhere in South Korea, Samsung let them fight.
I see this as an absolute win.
Samsung right now is at the top of the food chain when it comes to smartphones. They're not involved, they're not affected. Think about it. Like, for me, it's like, yeah, it's like if somebody, like, we've had no news about this from any other company, so yeah, I can imagine how that's going. It is fair, of course. Don't throw rocks if your house is made over leveraged glass. So here's the thing, and that's one of the points that I made in that video. China has been blocking the access of Google services, Facebook, and other apps to work in China forever. So why is it that China now gets upset over the United States doing the same thing? That's the thing, and that's the reason why I'm like, neither thing is a good thing. Everything here is a lose-lose. If China bans US companies from doing business in China, there's this whole market that US companies can't access to. And so the United States is applying that pretty much same principle, and so now we have a problem. I feel that China needs to change their policy as well. That's the thing. That's the reason why I'm telling you, I can't go in favor of one or in favor of the other. Both are a problem. If China could shut down Twitter, Trump would immediately end the trade war. But I don't think he cares enough about Apple. Sick burn. An eye for an eye, I guess. And it's funny because that is actually the way the law in China works. But think about this. I've been talking about all the negative repercussions and how this affects Huawei for the past, 5-6 minutes of this video. Now think about the opposite. Is it fair for China to block US companies from doing business in China? It should be fair. And I feel that regardless of my thoughts over the situation and if I think that it's right or wrong, I also feel that there is a point. It should be fair across the board. US companies should be able to make business in every country, and every country should be able to do the same in the United States, period. And then finally, I decided on Friday, you know what, let's stop talking about Huawei so much for the end of week. We were discussing about the Samsung Galaxy Fold since everybody's like, what's going on with Samsung? You know what, guys? Best Buy has just decided to cancel pre-orders, and I'm like, wait a second, we see patents for the Fold 2, where is the Fold 1? I asked you what you thought. If it's still in your top of mind, we had 443 comments. Fold, cool gadget, but I don't have a problem that this gadget fixes. I hope they succeed in getting it back because it's important to keep the innovation wheel going. True that. It's a beautiful product. I found it really cool to use. It doesn't solve anything for me, but I love that train of innovation. I'm sad because I really like the Mate X. Let's be patient. Let them work out the kinks and release it when they're ready. No rush. True that, fixing good products or doing good products, it takes time. Obviously, there's testing, and this testing involves carriers. Every carrier needs to check this product again. That's going to take some time. The Fold isn't going anywhere. It's going to get released, and probably soon, either June or early July. Could be a possibility. Problem is, we don't have any dates. I wasn't likely to buy a Galaxy Fold, but I still really want to see it. I still prefer its design over the Mate X. You know, it's funny, everybody that hasn't touched the Mate X says this, and I'm not saying that having an outer display is a good idea. Oh man, the moment that outer display falls, it's destroyed, it's dead. I'm not saying that that's the best solution. I'm just saying that that phone is so thin that it feels really cool. It feels like a regular phone, and I find that to be the smarter solution, but I totally get your point. Samsung does provide a smarter solution, but then again, now their patent for the Fold 2 is an outer folding display, so who knows where that's going to go. That's it for the Pocketnow Daily Recap. Thank you so much for watching. If you want your comments to be featured, keep them short, stick to the point, and try to get some thumbs up. It helps us spot them a lot easier. Also, follow us on social media as our extended coverage happens on Instagram. You can follow me and my handles as well if you want to look at crazy running photos. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.